All right, let's jump right in. We're going to break down a really powerful story today, an allegory about what happens when just one person decides to question absolute authority. It's a story about a kingdom, a tyrant king, and the one question that just changes everything. So picture this, a scorched planet where humanity has been boiled down to a single daily ritual, waiting in line for a handout from their ruler. This quote just perfectly captures the vibe. It's not really about the bread. It's about a society that's running on fear, exhaustion, and, most importantly, on obedience. So you're probably asking, how did things get this bad? Well, the entire system is built on fear, and it's maintained by one narcissistic ruler who controls absolutely everything. He's got everyone totally dependent on him, which means he's got them right under his thumb. Now here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't your typical good guy versus bad guy story. The king, he represents that whole idea of external authority, that voice that says, do what I say. And then there's Evan, our main character, who represents internal sovereignty, that drive to master yourself. So this is really a battle of ideas. You know, every system, no matter how controlling it is, has a crack in its armor. And in this kingdom, that crack is doing one simple thing that's forbidden: asking a real question. And someone is about to light that fuse. The deal between the ruler and his subjects was super simple, totally transactional. You show up, you wait, you play your part as a beggar, and you ask for your food for the day. That's it, nothing more. And this is absolutely key. It wasn't just about getting the bread, it was about showing gratitude. See, the king, he fed off their adoration. Obedience wasn't enough for him. He demanded worship. And this, right here, was the #1 unbreakable rule. You don't question the system. You don't question the king. You don't show any curiosity at all. You just accept the reality you're given. Until today, that is. And boom, there it is. Evan steps right up to this all-powerful king and asks the one question that shatters every single rule. He's not asking for more bread. He's asking for the blueprint. He's asking for the keys to the kingdom. This single sentence rocks the very foundation of this entire world. So that one question kicks off this epic showdown between two completely opposite ways of looking at the world. Let's really get into it. The king's whole philosophy of rule versus the freeman's philosophy of self-rule. I mean, just look at this contrast. It is night and day. For the king, free will is basically a loyalty test. He gives it to you just so you have the choice to give it right back to him. But for Evan, free will is the entire point. It's the tool you use for your own personal growth, for mastering yourself. And this quote from the king just says it all, doesn't it? He literally sees his subjects as characters in his own personal video game. He even admits he only lets things happen if they help him, creating what he calls the illusion of free choice. It's just a chillingly honest confession of his total control. And when it comes to justice, whoa, they are on totally different planets. The king's way is simple. You cross him, you get tortured in a dungeon forever. The end. But Evan argues for something more like a reform school, where the goal isn't to punish you, but to teach you, to help you understand why the rules exist in the first place, so you want to follow them. And this is such a powerful moment. Evan just cuts through all the fancy titles, supreme ruler, great one, and calls the king what he is: a bully. Just a guy who uses fear and punishment to get his way and feel big. Okay, get this. This is maybe the most messed up part of the king's whole system. He actually hires these agents he calls tempters to go out and try to get people to rebel. It's a setup. Their job is to whisper in your ear, offer you shortcuts, and try to get you to betray him, all so he can see who falls for the trap. It's entrapment on a cosmic level. But here's the thing about a system built entirely on lies and deception: it's like a house of cards. So when the king admits all of this out loud, the whole thing just starts to buckle. Evan's question didn't knock it down. It just pulled out that one little card at the bottom. So the crowd hears this, and their logic just takes this wild, twisted turn. They think, wait a minute, if he's testing us, then the rebels must be the brave ones who are passing the test. All of a sudden, the dungeon isn't a torture chamber. It's the exclusive VIP club. And of course, total anarchy breaks out because everyone decides that breaking the rules is the new way to get ahead. And then, The final nail in the coffin. The king turns to his enforcers, the ones who kept order, and they're gone. They've dropped their armor and just walked off the job. His power was all an illusion, and now he's got no one left to enforce it. So, from the ashes of that old, broken system, something new starts to grow. This is where the story really lands. The people, with Evan leading the way, start to demand a completely new kind of freedom, one that's based on personal responsibility and mastering yourself. This line right here is their Declaration of Independence. They're basically telling the king, look, it's not our job to manage your fragile ego. We aren't responsible for your happiness. They're declaring that their purpose is to pursue their own growth. So here's what their new manifesto looks like. And notice, every single one of these points is about internal power. It's about taking ownership, the right to increase their own glow, to master themselves, to be responsible for their own karma, and to fight their own inner demons. They're not asking for a better king. They're ready to become their own rulers. So when you boil it all down, the king's power was never in his throne or his rules. It was in his subjects' fear. The moment they stopped being afraid and started asking questions, his entire kingdom just dissolved. And that leaves us with a final thought, right? What happens in our own lives when we stop being afraid to question the systems we're told to just obey?